Hello again, welcome back to another video. This one is sort of about impulse control, but well, maybe that's a video another time. This video is about a Toshiba 4800CT that I bought recently, and I'm just going to show you the listing and why I wanted to buy this. And so this is the eBay listing for this particular item, and as you can see it's a Toshiba T4800CT, and I wasn't particularly interested in getting one of these specifically, but as I was looking at the photos, a couple of things jumped out at me. So first thing was, look at the condition. It's pretty good. It looks like it's really clean. It doesn't look like it's been dropped. All the port covers seem to be there, which is really nice. A little bit unusual. It comes with a modem. No dongle though, so completely useless in that sense. But you know, even the back cover is there. It's really nice. Everything seems to be in very clean condition. There's no corrosion on any of these ports, which is nice because sometimes that's a sign of a leaking internal battery. And you know, very clean on this side as well. So it also had this white card that was in one of the slots. And if you know anything about these early Toshibas, you know that's a memory card. So this has been upgraded memory-wise. Interestingly, below that as well, it also has audio jacks. So this has built-in audio, which is relatively common at the time, but not super common on business-orientated laptops. So I was just really impressed with the overall condition of this. It's a 4800CT 500, which means it's got a 500 megabyte hard disk, hopefully. It doesn't look like it's been taken apart. All the screws seem to be present. So I'm hoping that it is going to be complete. I haven't turned it on yet. We're going to do that together in a minute. But again, looking on the inside, it looks in pretty good condition. There is a maybe/but coming up, which we'll come to in a moment. But as you can see, the keyboard's in very good condition. It may not be a UK model, judging by some of those accented characters. If you just go back to the bottom label, it's come through Toshiba Europe, Germany, which is interesting. And it looks like it's got a blue sticker here from Astra, which is it's got German language in it. So I think this has probably come from Germany at some point in its life, rather than the UK, which is where I reside. So that's interesting in itself. But yeah, it's got some slightly unusual characters there on the keyboard. But the keyboard's in very good condition. The screen looks pretty good. It comes with the Toshiba branded external Microsoft mouse. If you've never seen one of these before, they're quite cool. We'll be showing that off in a bit. Hopefully it works. And it came with the charger, so what's not to like? Well, the other thing it came with is a couple of floppy disks and a CD drive. And on the CD, it looks like there's MS-DOS 622 and Windows 3.11, plus the user manual. When this was released, it originally came with DOS 621 and Windows for Workgroups, so presumably that's roughly what's on there. The secondary display seems to be working, and it says it's got 100% charge on the battery. I don't believe that necessarily, but that's an interesting thing. The big problem is this. So this has got a BIOS password on it. Now, normally that puts me off buying computers, but if you've seen my other video, I'll put a link up here, you'll know that we know how to bypass CMOS passwords on Toshiba laptops. So hopefully that will also work on this slightly earlier generation. We've done it with some Pentium-based machines. This is a 486-based machine, so I don't know if it's going to be too early for this hack to work, but we're going to give it a go. So that's the product listing. Let's have a look at the actual specs from Toshiba. So Dynabook still keeps a database of most of the old models on its website, which is very nice. This is the spec sheet that they provide for the 4800CT. What's interesting about it? Well, there's a couple of things. One is that it is, let's find the line. So it is a 486 DX4 75 megahertz. I've got one other DX4 laptop that mostly works. So it'd be nice to have one that completely works. It comes with 8 megabytes of standard, but as we saw, there was a extra memory card in that memory slot, so it may have a 4 extra megs, so 12 megs on top, so in total, so that would be really good for some DOS gaming, and for early Windows 3.11. But if we get lucky, it might be an 8 or a bigger one. I think that's unlikely. It's more likely to be the 4. It comes with 1 megabyte video RAM. That's the maximum this particular chipset, the Western Digital one, can accept, and that should give high color, so 65,000 colors at 640 by 480, which is what the screen is. So the built-in screen is 640 by 480. So this is looking like it might be quite a good DOS gaming machine, sort of. So it's got a 486, it's got a 640 by 480 screen, and it's got built-in sound. So is this the perfect DOS gaming laptop? Not quite, unfortunately. We'll come to that in a moment. It's got a floppy disk drive. Invariably, laptop disk drives of this age don't work. Either the capacitors have gone, or the belt drive has gone, or something's gone wrong with them. They very rarely work these days, but we might get lucky because the whole machine looks in such a good condition. It comes with a load of software. Here, yeah, DOS 6.21. So internally, it does 640 by 480 VGA basically. So as far as audio goes, it's got the 16-bit sound system. It's not specific in this details here, but as I understand it, it's a Windows sound system version 2 compatible device. Now the 4850 actually has an onboard Yamaha OPL2 or OPL3, but this doesn't. But there is a driver that comes with the Windows package that allows you to kind of emulate DOS Sound Blaster gaming through that system. So we might be able to get some DOS gaming going, but it doesn't have a true Yamaha OPL chip, unfortunately, unlike some of the later Toshibas. But it should be a good fun thing to have a little play with. As I say, it's looking in really good condition. I hope it's working as well as the description was. By the way, guys, if you have listing stuff on eBay, please don't use the AI to generate your content, because it's almost always wrong, and it actually downright misleading a lot of the times, quite often implying some of this retro stuff actually is suitable for modern day use, which obviously it isn't. Okie dokie, so let's have a look at the system itself. So here's the system in all its glory. This is everything I received. So I've got power supply. It is the original Toshiba one. It has got a UK plug on it. It's a bit corroded. Doesn't say that it's a German version of the power supply. The date code is 9405, so it is from 1994, which is when this laptop was made. It looks to be in good condition. Doesn't look like it's been dropped. Cable isn't frayed. Still got possibly the original cable tie on it, so that's in pretty good condition, so that's nice. Got these mystery DVD-R and 2 floppies. I'm not sure what's on those. I'm guessing very much that this is a DOS boot disk and maybe some utilities. This was in the advert, so there's some drivers on there for Windows and DOS. And then this is the Microsoft ballpoint mouse. Toshiba, and I think maybe one other company started making this dedicated port on the side of their laptops. Was it? Might have been Zenith. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below, but a couple of manufacturers adopted this specification that Microsoft came up with for this way of attaching your mouse to the side of your laptop. And some are on the left side, some are on the right. And I think I've seen one where it goes in the front, maybe. But they're quite cool little gadgets. They got a dedicated port on here, so you can't use them on systems that don't have the right port. I don't know if anybody ever made an adapter for this to a PS2 cable. I don't see why they would. It's very hard to use this without it being attached to the laptop. You can change the angle. It's got a mouse button here. It's got a ball. It's got a button on the front and the back, which I can't remember which way around it is, whether that's left click and right click. You might even be able to program it in the software. But they're quite cool. It's nice to have one that isn't broken. Well, like I say, it's broken. I don't know if it works inside. It might be a bit grubby because it does work on the old ball mouse principle. So let's take it apart. Looking inside, it looks pretty clean actually. You're probably not going to be able to see that on the camera. But yeah, that looks pretty decently clean on the inside. There isn't too much grub on the wheels. like there often is on mice. And I got a mixed feeling about Microsoft making hardware. In my experience, whenever they do make a bit of hardware, they tend to make it quite well. They seem to go through phases of wanting to make hardware and then not wanting to make hardware. At the moment, they're in a phase of wanting to, and it's obviously their laptops and semi-tablet ranges. So, but I've always found Microsoft products to be pretty well made. This one's Toshiba branded, but it is a Microsoft product. So that's the mouse, and then here's the laptop itself. So it's in pretty good condition. There are a few little marks on it which weren't clear in the adverts, and it's a little bit less white perhaps than in the adverts, but it is a Toshiba 4800CT. Around the front we've got floppy drive and battery compartment. On a lot of compacts from the time, this space here actually had a removable caddy for the hard disk, so it was very easy to switch the hard disk on compacts from this era, but not Toshiba's. Around the side you've got one of the releases for the screen. You've got the special port here for the mouse to plug into. And then down here, what have you got here? I think maybe this is where the memory goes. Well, that's interesting because there's nothing in there. It says slot 2. Is that maybe a PCMCI card slot as well as this? So that definitely is. And it's got this 2-stage flappy door, which is nice. Yeah, so actually there's only one card slot here. It takes a Type 3 device, so you can actually have more than one adapter in most laptops that have PCMCIA card slots, but this one's actually got a dedicated full height Type 3 slot. There's only one set of connectors in there that I can see. So there is actually a second slot next to it, which is unusual, but very welcome. I do have a few Type 3 slots, and they're combined modem and Ethernet, so they're quite handy. This has come off. I'm not sure it's supposed to just come off. Let's clip it back on. But it's nice having the extra port here, so you can put your dongle on with that and remove the whole door. So that's good. Around the back we have the cover for the expansion ports, and they are pretty clear, pretty clean I should say, and they're labelled on the flap. DC input, there's a slight amount of corrosion in there. So all Toshibas from this era have one massive problem, and that is they have two internal batteries. One's a rechargeable hot swap battery, so that when you take out your battery here, the memory that's in here isn't lost. So you can have more than one battery pack and change them while the lid is closed and the system is in standby and not lose your data. So there's one of those, but there's also the CMOS battery, of course, and both of them tend to leak. So the fact there's some corrosion on this port here is worrying. We'll have to take it apart and get those batteries out. Around the other side, you've got the audio ports. You've got the memory cover here. So this has got a memory card in it. Now, these normally have a little tab that you pull on to get them out. I'll need to get some pliers on that. Got a reset switch, got a power switch, and then this is the release for the battery. So there's no built-in modem on this. You have to use a PCMCI card. What you do get is a PS2 mouse and keyboard, parallel port, serial port, and VGA port. Connecting here for an external dock, and there were a couple of different docks available for this. All right, let's open it up, see what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so as on the advert, it is pretty clean inside. A little bit of dust, but otherwise it looks in pretty good condition. No cracks in the plastic. Keyboard's a bit, yeah, although actually slightly better than the Toshibas from this era. They are very spongy. Okay, so here's the memory slot cover. I'll open it up. The white card is the memory slot, and just above it, I think, is the little handle we need to get hold of. There's probably a proper way of doing this and a bad way of doing this. There you go. Just need to get your fingers underneath there to put it up. Put it out, I should say. And it comes out. It's like a credit card style thing. And once, so it doesn't look like that tab comes all the way out. You just loosen the memory card with it. And what we've got here, we've got lucky it's an 8 meg card. This one's a third-party one. It's a Kingston one, but that doesn't matter. And as you can see, it's credit card size. It's probably the first edition of the PCMCIA flash memory specification, I'm guessing, judging by the size. If you've ever seen a Pocket PC, you'll know they've got 2 little slots on the bottom, which was the very first. That's the thing what drove the definition of this size of memory cartridge for memory. So anyway, we've got 8 megs on there. Let's just push it back in. So yeah, so just get your finger underneath. And the little tab should just come out, and then you can, yeah. And then you use that to loosen the memory card. That then goes back in, and the memory card comes out by itself. Cool, so we've got a total of 16 megs of memory on this particular laptop, which is nice. So on the other side, you've got this connector for the IntelliMouse, not the IntelliMouse, the ballpoint mouse. So it kind of, again, there might be a good way, bad way of doing this. It's got these 2 little lugs, so I think you basically put it in kind of sideways, and it kind of it clips into place, and then it's pretty secure once it's in there. And it is adjustable, so you press the button on the front of the back, and you can change the angle. So when you're using your mouse, you can decide whether you want it sort of fairly high up, or you can have it a little bit more flat. So that's quite nice, quite ergonomic. To get it off, I think you kind of, yeah, you lift it up all the way and it just unclips. Great little devices. I'm not surprised it never caught on, because you can't carry your laptop around with it stuck on the side, and then you can't, yeah, you still got to have somewhere to put this, so you might as well just bring a mouse with you. So never really caught on, but I think they're quite cool. Right, shall we see if we can get it working? So we have the original power supply. Okay, so we have mains power to the power supply. There's no indicator light on the power supply to tell us it's on and working. And there's nothing on the computer that's lit up to tell us it's working. So, I tell a lie. We now have, on the little LED display, a flashing power indicator, and it's telling us what level of charge there is on the battery. So that's cool. Looks like it's a bit loose though, because each time I move the laptop it goes off. There you go, let's come back on. So, we know the laptop power supply works. Shall we turn it on? In fact, it's probably that little bit of corrosion, isn't it, that's making it a bit temperamental. There we go, let's come on now. I'm going to press the power button, which is on the side, on the left here. Nothing has happened. I can't hear a hard drive spin up, I can't hear a power fan. Sorry, CPU fan. Press it again, and now I can hear a hard drive spinning up. I've got an icon on here saying it's on. Nothing's come on the screen, which is worrying. can't even see the backlight attempting to light up. Which is disappointing. As you saw from the listing, the photos did show it working. And just turn itself off. Okay. So maybe there is a problem. Let's try it again. Indicator lights, let's come on to say on, hard drive light came on and off. Ah, we have now got something on the screen, it's very dim. There is a function key here to turn the brightness of the screen up and down. Doesn't appear to be working at the BIOS level. I'm just going to reposition the camera so that you can see what's on the screen. So hopefully you can see that. Here it's asking for a password prompt. Let's just try enter. Nope. Let's try Toshiba. No, let's try. There's a list of generic passwords you can try for different BIOSes. I think I've mentioned that before in a video. I don't know who makes the BIOS for the Toshiba, so let's try just typing in award. Nope. So 3 attempts and it's locked us out in a very noisy way. So let's just power cycle it. No, so it's gone straight back to the password prompt. So what we're going to do is our normal Toshiba password bypass using the parallel port. So for password removal, we've used paper clips in the past. I'm just going to try something new today. I'm going to try using these little patch leads. I've got a pack of those just for general purpose. So I think that we'll try these, but I'm not sure if these little pins are going to be too loose in the parallel port holes and just fall out too quickly. So we'll give those a try. If not, we'll revert back to the paper clips. So I've removed the door that covers these ports up just to make it a little bit easier to do this. And fiddling around with these, they do seem a little bit loose in the holes, but I think they're probably going to be okay. So we'll try the DuPont cables and see if that works. So here we have all the DuPont pins in. They fit in quite nicely actually. Pin number 5 needs to go to pin number 1 and 10. So I've got 2 options for creating a split cable. One is I've just exposed a little bit of the core on this cable here, so I can either touch it on there, or I can, there's also these little exposed bits on the side of the actual connector, so I could touch it in there potentially. So that's how I'm going to do the one that needs to split to 2 different pins. So let's give it a go. So we have power indicator, battery is attempting to charge, I don't know if it will. Let's turn it on and find out if this works. So before, when we did this, we had a password prompt appear just up here on the top corner of the screen. I'm going to turn it on and touch that 3rd wire. See what happens. I've got a power indicator on the status panel. I can hear the drive spinning up. It's still asking for the password. So it hasn't worked. So on the Teardown 800, this didn't work unless there was a hard drive in, it turned out. It's not working on this one. And I'm not sure why. It could be that I haven't wired it up properly, so I'm just going to go and double check the wiring. But we certainly haven't bypassed this password yet. Okay, so I had got it slightly wrong on the back. I'd missed a pin, so everything was shifted to the right by 1 for several of the cables. But let's give it a try again. So let's give it some power. I get my cable ready for that 3rd connection, and we'll power it on. Hard drive spinning up. Password prompt is still there. So maybe this doesn't work on this earlier generation. Okay, so I'm pressing it into the metal part of the connector. Let's try shorting it across the actual wire. Nope, Still not working. Now, this was a very cheap batch of GPON cables, so let's just check their continuity on all of them just to make sure they are actually all functioning, because if they're not, that would explain why it's not working. Let me try this one in particular, the one I made a little notch in. Yep, no, it's definitely still working. Let's try all the others. So they're all fine. So the possibility is still that these are a little bit too narrow. A little bit too narrow to fill the holes to get a good connection in the parallel port. The paper clips are a little bit thicker. Or it could be just doesn't work on this early generation of Toshiba laptops. Okay, let's try the paper clips. Nope, no luck with the paper clips either. So maybe you can't do it with this particular laptop. No, definitely no joy. So the other thing we can do is make a key disk. So that's another way of bypassing the password on early Toshiba laptops. I've tried it before and it didn't work, but what did work is this parallel port bypass. That's not working on this one, so maybe the key disk will work. Now that does depend on it having a working floppy disk drive, so who knows, let's give it a try. Okay, so what we're going to do next is take this thing apart. I can't find any video tutorials on that, how to do that. And I've never done a Toshiba of this age before, but I do have access to the service manual, which is going to make a big difference. So with later sort of Pentium era Toshibas, for example, there's a strip across the back of the keyboard that you prise out to take the keyboard off, etc, etc. So this is a little bit different. I suspect we're going to access most things from underneath. There seems to be quite a few screws in here. So we'll give it a go, see how far we get, but we need to get out these two batteries that I was referring to previously. So we do need to do something, we can't just leave it. Once we've done that, we'll see if the floppy drive is working, see if we can make ourselves a key disk, see if we can get rid of that BIOS password. But we need to first of all start by taking away anything that's already removable. So we've already taken off the mouse. Let's take out this PCMCI card. So there is a catch here which locks the card. So you want that unlocked. This is fully removable, it doesn't have a hinge. There's a card in there and there's a slot here for pushing that out. There we go, so that's the one. And so this takes a full Type 3 16mm card if needed. It's got a TDK 1440 modem card in there. Very nice card in its day, but useless without the dongle, unfortunately. So we'll leave that cover off. Nothing to do on the back. I've already taken off this cover, which we don't need to do for disassembling, but was easier to show you the back. Around this side we've got the memory card. So we need to get that out. So if you remember, there's this little tab for doing that. Let's close that back up. This is the catch for removing the battery. So sliding that forward should allow the battery to come out. That's not happening for some reason. Let's try it this way up.
2 hours later.
Aha, I misunderstood. So you don't just push this forward, you push this forward and there's a button behind it. There we go. So this is the original Toshiba battery pack, 2600 milliamp hours, nickel metal hydride. Looks like it was made in 94, Weco 4, batch, production line number 3 maybe that is. Terminals are a little bit messy, but not too badly corroding. It doesn't appear to be leaking, it's not bulging, so that's good. As I was saying about compact laptops, there is actually here a screw and a hard drive bay. So actually getting to the hard drive isn't as hard as I thought. Not as easy as the compacts, but not too difficult. So let's do that next. So you need to slide it this way, but you need to get this plastic tab out of this little channel first. It's proving a little bit stiff. Oh, there we go. So that comes off. And underneath we have the hard drive, which unsurprisingly is Toshiba branded. Here we go. Toshiba 500 megabyte hard disk pack. So this is supposed to be a 500 megs. If that is the original. It might not be, could have been upgraded at some point, but it comes as a whole unit. It's got a special interposer board so that it's easy to slide in and out. So yeah, that's the hard drive, and it sounded like it was working. Can't see any corrosion inside, which is nice. Floppy drive is here. So next we need to take out some screws across the bottom. There's a spring to push the battery out when you press that release button. So I've got to take out these 4 screws, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So that one isn't screwing out, unfortunately. Going to use a magnet to take out the screws. I've just got a magnet on the pair of scissors. So this one doesn't want to come out, doesn't want to unscrew. And it looks like there's a different screw to the other types. So I wonder if someone's already been in here. Let's try the old screwdriver down the side trick. Nope, it's still not coming out. Okay, the next set of screws to come out is the ones across the back. No, it's not. Do it this way up. It's this one, this one, this one, and this one. Those all look like the original screws. This one is loose. Again, that's not a great sign. That means maybe somebody has been in here already. So the screws across the back are all the same size and length, so that's handy. So in theory, the top cover is now loose. So we open this up, and this top is held in place with some little catches, so we'll try and get those open. So this is the time you're most likely to crack something and damage it cosmetically. Not sure those are quite stiff enough. Let's try something different. Got to find a way in. Got to find a weak spot. Feels like there's a catch here. There is. There we go. We've started. That makes it easier. Now we've got one. We can get this plastic spudger in. Try and get the others without cracking it. When you come to really thin bits of plastic like this one here, this is where you most like to break things. Let's try somewhere else along here. There we go. Hopefully this is coming out okay on the camera. There we go. Two sides. So if you can see, the catches are coming up from the bottom with a clip coming this way, so you need to move the top part away to get them to come undone. So I'm putting in the little spudger from the bottom. There we go, one more to do, but it's unfortunately in this bottom hinge. There you go. So in theory, this should now just come off, which it does. Excellent. Okay, so we get a first look at one of the batteries. It's quite a chunky one. I suspect that's the one that controls, keeps the memory going while the main battery is being replaced. So let's have a little look at that. So the wire for that appears to go underneath this, whatever that is. So we'll come to that in a bit. So the keyboard's not connected in terms of screws. It's only connected by this ribbon cable here. So we're just going to undo that. It's going to loosen off the connector tabs, which are very stiff. Here's one. Here's the other. Okay. So in theory we should be able to lift the keyboard up and slide it off. And yep, it's come away quite nicely. So that's good. Alright, so the laptop's now top heavy, so it's going to want to fall back. So let's prop that up. Conveniently we can use our multimeter. Alright, so I need to take out the status indicator panel, apparently, next. So that's what this ribbon cable is here. Let's just get the tape off first. Now again, you can't really see that from around your side, but it's got another one of these connectors where you lift up the fitting and the cable comes out. There's not a lot of room though, so I'm just going to move the battery as well. So basically we're going to remove this flex cable again by lifting up on the tabs so that the cable can come free like that. So this is the microphone. That just lifts up apparently, yep. And this is the battery we've been after, or one of them. Doesn't appear to have leaked here, but sometimes a leak down the cable. And yeah, I don't know how well you can see that, but the end of the cable's gone green. So it has started leaking. Hopefully it hasn't affected things internally too much. So that's one battery done. Next we need to get underneath this layer here. This is where the floppy drive is, and I believe the other battery is kind of just below it, behind it. So we do need to take all of this off, unfortunately. So we'll take the display assembly off next. I'm going to leave the microphone on just so I don't have to unplug it, because I'm worried I'm going to break the cable. So let's start with this bit of tape over here. So this is the switch that tells the motherboard whether the laptop lid is closed or not. So we're just going to lift this up gently without breaking the cables. Putting directly on the cables is generally a bad idea. Next we've got to undo this connector here, which is the main display connector. Again, we need to prise this out of its socket without breaking any cables. And is that done? We just take out this earth screw. Keep that in there. Got another connector over here, which is the inverter cable apparently. Use the microphone out of the way. There we go. Let's put the microphone back. So we're going to turn this round. And these two screws are the ones we need to remove to take out the hinges. There's one. And there's two. So there's three screws on this side to take out apparently, which is this one in the back corner, this one here, and a matching one in this corner. So that is the same size as the ones from the back, which is handy. So loosen that a little bit, and then I'm going to take this one out. And as soon as I do that, the displays come loose. And there we go. The whole display assembly has come off. So these are the hinge covers. I'll hide the hinges from the reverse view. That one just comes out by itself. And we take this whole top section off and remove this tape to expose the screw. So there should be 5 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these are the same as the ones holding the display in place. So there's 2 either side of this hinge cover. 1 either side of this hinge cover, I should say, 2 in total. As you can see, that's now come loose. And there's 1 here. There we go. So we should be able to remove this top cover, which we can. It holds the release mechanism for the memory card. That's come out. Let's remove this screw. So that's the memory card slot. Here's the motherboard. As in under here is floppy. That's empty because the hard disk was under there, and this is empty because the battery was under there. Let's have a quick look at this. So we've got Intel DX4, 75 megahertz. Some logic chips. That's probably the main chipset, I'm guessing. Just because of its size. And I'm guessing on the reverse there's some more stuff. So the right hinge cover should be able to come out now. Yep. It comes out very easily. I'm going to leave the microphone attached. As I said, I don't want to break the cable for that. Alright. So there's nothing holding this in place now. So that just comes off. Remove more tape over here. So on this side here we've got a connector which is the power switch and the reset switch. So I need to remove that from the motherboard. And there we go. So I don't think there's anything holding the motherboard in place now. So there's no screws holding this in anymore. So this motherboard should start to move. There it is. I see. I see. So underneath these strips, going down, it's a dual layer motherboard. So this is the top layer, and these are interconnects between this top board and the bottom board, and they're obviously holding it together. So the trick is to separate them without. There we go. There we have it. So you've got a connector here that connects down onto a secondary motherboard. Here we've got the battery connector and the DC circuitry. The caps don't appear to be blown, don't appear to be leaking, so that's good. There is that little bit of corrosion on the power connector, and I'm not sure where that's come from. The rest of the board seems intact. Here's the display controller on the bottom. And then this seems to be this DC power board seems to be connected somehow, which I'm not going to explore. We're just going to move that to one side. So we still need to get into this area here to get to that other battery. Not quite sure how to do that yet. This is the floppy disk cable, so let's just get that out. Okay, have a look here. So there is some corrosion here. I'm not sure where that's come from. So it looks like it's come from the bottom of the DC board. Just around this edge here. So I think it's been transmitted from the battery. Those terminals are a little bit ropey. So this DC board apparently just does clip off. There is just an interconnect here somewhere. Should we try and do that? There we go. So that's the rest of the system board. Here's the built-in 8 megs of RAM. The board itself looks fine. So you've got this insulation on the DC side of things. That all looks fine. So I think we got lucky. I think there's a little bit of corrosion on here and on the chassis from where the battery has just leaked a little bit. But we still need to find the other battery. So let's take out the floppy disk drive cable. There we go. Let's take off this tape. So you don't want to break this flex cable obviously, so just need to be very careful taking off the tape. And so the flop drive isn't wanting to come out straight away, but there are 2 screws here, so that's probably what's holding the rest of the system in. So let's do that next. So that one and that one are slightly different from each other, so I have to remember where they go. Yeah, so there's nothing else holding that in. The only other screw that's on here is this one here, which I think is holding the remainder of the motherboard in place. So I'm not going to take that one out if I don't need to. Although we are going to have to clean that corrosion, so yes, let's take it out. And then again, the third one that is an unusual shape. And on this side, there's one more screw here, which is holding the chassis into the bottom case. And that is the same as all the others that we've taken out previously. So in theory, what should happen now is that this whole metallic section should come away from the plastic base. The power button's probably going to be in the way. Yep, that's fine. Hang on a second, do we need to take out any of this? depending on design, sometimes you need to take out these screw supports for the serial and parallel ports, but I don't think you do in this one. Aha, there's a screw hiding up here. So under the second PCM CIA slot, there is a screw. Same size as all the others, so that's handy. So that was holding this side of the chassis to the plastic. So the instructions in the user guide in the service manual are to lift the front up first. I think this needs to come out. There we go. So lift the front up like that. And it should just come out. There's a single screw here that isn't mentioned in the user manual, service manual. I'm going to take that out, just in case it's that. Stopping it from coming out at the back, it is. At least I think it is. There we go, it has come free. So you've got the bottom case plastic, which includes the power switch, eject mechanism for the battery, and all the holes for the ports. Okie dokie, so now we have the metal chassis out, speaker underneath here. That's the PCMCI slots cover. There's the power reset switch. We're still no closer to finding this second battery. Maybe I've been misinformed, maybe there isn't one. So let's get the floppy drive out. So what we're going to do is so the floppy drive's on top of the speaker assembly here. We're going to take off the mouse assembly. Which again is the same size screw as everything else, which is really handy. So you can't actually take that off yet because it's still attached by a ribbon cable. But apparently we need to do that to get to this screw. So the floppy drive screws are smaller, different thread. So now the floppy drive should come out, which indeed it does. It's a Matsushita one, it's not a Toshiba one, interestingly. We don't know if this is working. Still no sign of this second elusive battery. Maybe we have been misinformed. Maybe there are only one battery. So there's no room left in here to get a battery in. Hang on, there's a CMOS battery here by the looks of it, but it's a coin cell. So that might be safe. So it's part of this speaker assembly, isn't it? So there are 3 screws holding the speaker assembly in place. Again, they're a slightly different size. So it's got 2 little catches here which go in and then flips down. And there we have it. We have a coin cell, it's quite big. Take this tape off. And there we have it. So this is the connector for that coin cell. So we're just going to pull that out. So that hasn't started leaking, but it's good to get it out. It is a Toshiba branded one, a VG2430 is the code that's on it. So it looks like we could repurpose this connector. It looks like it's only in shrink wrap. I don't know if they're soldered on as well, welded on. Yes, they are. 2 little weld spots there and 1 weld spot there. So you could repurpose that if you can get those little prongs off. But we have finally found the second battery, so that's good. Let's get rid of that. So we're pretty much done. The only thing we need to do really is clean up this corrosion here. And that's going to be tricky with this in place. So you probably do need to take that out. I think to remove this motherboard, second part of the motherboard, we need to take off this bottom panel here. I don't think it's going to affect the speakers. I'm actually going to reassemble that, just so we don't lose any of the screws, any of the tape. So let's tape this back down as it was, and we'll put this back in. So if we put that back on, it is going to stop us taking off the PCMCI cover. I don't think that's a problem. However, it is connected to this other board by this ribbon cable, so maybe we do need to take this off. I'm just going to put 1 screw back in there for now then. I just don't want to lose the battery, the speaker, or get it damaged. That's now screwed back into position. So to get the motherboard out, we're going to need to take this panel off. It looks like there's 3 screws. One at this end and 2 up here. And again, fortunately they are the same size as the majority of the others. So that's good. And then I think this plate just comes off. It needs to lift off over the audio connectors on the far end. And at this end it is going to be connected to the PCMCI slot, so we do need to get that off as well, unfortunately. So yeah, so let's take out the speaker screw again, take that off, take off this cover, so it's the 2 screws nearest the speaker end that need to come out. There's 2 more screws here, but it doesn't say to take those out. Again, these are smaller than the others. Need to keep those separate. So the service manual implies that these pop out. Which looks to be the case. There we go. Tries getting them out without putting too much pressure on the motherboard cover. There we go. So this now all comes out. In one piece, there we go. So that should mean the motherboard cover comes off in one piece. It does. So here's the remainder of the motherboard. We can see all of it now. Alright, so there are a set of screws to take out, which appear to be in the middle of the board. There's one really obvious here. I think those are the other 2. Again, they're a little bit of a different size. So I don't think anybody has actually been in here. I think the loose screws that we experienced earlier on were just loose screws. So in theory, this should now just come out. It does seem somewhat reluctant. Talking of loose screws, that one's managed to wind itself loose over the years. Let's just tighten that back up. There we go, it is coming out. So that's the second half of the motherboard. And this is the sound card. So this is replaceable. Comes on a daughter board, so although this is a T4800CT, it may be possible to transplant an audio card from the 4850 into here, which does have a proper OPL chip on it. This is an Analog Devices AD1848KP, which is a Windows sound system compatible card. I'm going to leave that in there for now because I don't have anything to replace it with. But it's good to see that it's on a daughter card. Again, the caps look okay. Can't see any leakage. Brilliant. So that leaves us just for this, guessing it's magnesium alloy chassis. It's very light, feels very strong, rigid, but it has got this bit of corrosion on it just yet, so we're going to tidy that up. So to start with, I'm just going to rub some white vinegar on it, see if it reacts. And that'll tell us, don't know if you can see that, it's bubbling away. That'll tell us whether it's an alkaline / battery form of corrosion, which it obviously is. So using the acid will neutralise that, and then we'll remove the residue with some IPA. Don't know why you can see that, but it is bubbling. So we're probably not going to be able to remove all of this crud. But what we do need to do is just neutralise as much of the alkaline as we can. Right, we have reassembled the laptop. I haven't videoed it because it was literally just the reverse procedure of taking it apart. All went better, all went together very well. No bits left over, nothing like that. But there is a problem. So I've created a key disk using Norton Utilities disk editor, but we have a new problem, and probably one of my own making. So we have power. When I now power cycle it, we get error code P42, and having looked that up, that refers to a wrong voltage somewhere in the power system. So on the off chance it's because the power supply has died in the meantime, I did try an alternate generic power supply, set at the correct voltage, and I'm still getting the same error code. So what I think's happened is that when I cleaned up the power board, basically I gave it a quick clean because it was partly corroded, I think somehow I've managed to either short something or damage something. So we need to take it apart again and have a look at that component in a bit more detail. So I'm not going to do that in this video, we're going to call the video here. So we haven't had a success, we haven't been able to get rid of the BIOS password, we have managed to remove both of the batteries, one of which was leaking, and we have done a teardown, so hopefully that was useful for somebody. But at the moment, this is still not a usable laptop. It's in very good condition, I'm sure I can get it working again, but we just need to work at that power issue. So hopefully you found the video interesting. Sorry, it's a bit anticlimactic at the end, but hopefully you thought it was worth a watch anyway. We'll see you on the next one.